Welcome to Unstoppable Teen, the podcast for teenagers, parents and teachers. My name is Kevin Mincher. Every week we will bring you an inspirational person or message to help you experience more success and happiness. Thanks for hanging out with us. Let's get this party started. Hello, Unstoppable Nation, it's Kevin here. Welcome to the show. I'm excited today because I'm going to be sharing with you an interview I recently conducted with Natascha Cox. Now, Natascha is a columnist, a blogger, and a body activist. She has great expertise and experience in the fashion, beauty, lifestyle, and travel industries. You're going to want to stay tuned. Whether you're a teenager, a parent, or indeed a teacher, an educator, you're going to want to stay tuned if you'd like to know more about what teenagers can do to improve their self-confidence and their body image. If you have any desire to develop a career in the future in the fashion industry, or for that matter, if you want to have a successful career in any industry, where there's something that you're passionate about, maybe you've got a hobby that one day you want to turn into a future income stream, you're going to want to stay tuned. You're also going to want to stay tuned if you had a rough upbringing, if you had challenges in your childhood and some difficult times in your teenage years. I say that because Natascha shares her own personal story about some of the incredible problems that she had to overcome in her youth and throughout her adolescent years. You won't believe what she used to be like when you consider the success that she has today. And she provides some fantastic tips for people that are having difficulties, particularly when you're in your teenage years, and what it takes to turn it all around and create a fantastic future. So, without further ado, please let me introduce you to the wonderful Natascha Cox. I'm delighted to have Natascha Cox with us today. Hello, Natascha.
Hello.
Well, thank you for being so generous with your time and coming on the show. Well, before we get stuck in, we've had a conversation off air. I've been looking at all the great stuff you've been doing via social media. But can you tell our listeners, what is your area of expertise?
Well, first and foremost, I am a blogger. You could call me a social media influencer. So I kind of write about fashion, beauty and travel. But my main kind of passion and focus at the moment, and has been for a good few years, is promoting body confidence and acceptance of everyone, really. So that's kind of my focus, as you could say. Fantastic.
Now, how did you get into that?
The blog, I didn't really know what to do with myself. I mean, I've done a few different careers and ins and outs of jobs and things, and completely random areas like children's entertainment and stuff like that. So I kind of didn't know what to do, and I just sat down one day. I think I watched a program on TV about fashion bloggers, and I just thought, I'm going to just write a blog because I'm into that kind of thing anyway. So I just started it and just kept writing for a little bit. And then it started to get noticed and a few followers, and brands started to want to work with me. So I thought this could actually be a job. So I just kind of gone on from there, really. And it's got bigger and better, and it's changed a few times. And I think it's something now that I've really found that is just perfect for me and my lifestyle and where I want to be, to be honest.
Fantastic. So how old were you when you started the blog?
About 27.
See, I get fascinated about all the different types of jobs and careers that people can do.
Yeah.
Oftentimes when we're in school, there are these stereotypical career progression routes that we're talked about, traditional careers where it's safe. And yet the more people I meet, so many are becoming self-employed and finding ways to turn their personal passions into their career.
Yeah. It's fun.
Yeah. And it doesn't feel like work anymore, does it?
No.
Now, you were saying it's been taking off, and how many people roughly sort of come and read your blog, and what are some of the brands that you've been involved with?
So I have about 48,000 unique visitors to the blog each month.
Wow.
And then across social media, I have about 105,000 followers. And the kind of brands and things that I work with are brands that are kind of promoting that kind of acceptance and body image, confidence for everyone. So I've worked with ASOS quite a bit.
Yeah.
And then there's been some beauty brands like Avon, which I kind of had a completely stereotypical view of, being kind of like an older ladies brand. But they're actually trying to be kind of for everyone, and that was really good. Other brands like Greg's I've worked with a couple of times with coffee and things like that. So it's a whole kind of variety, and I've been on like amazing trips. I went to St. Lucia with the tourist board over there and to the Maldives. So it's a kind of a different thing every day, and that's why I love it, because I kind of hate being stuck in an office just, typing away. I just want to be just doing my own thing and having control over what I do. And that's what makes working for yourself just amazing.
Great stuff. Now, what I'd like to do as we progress through this interview is get some practical tips and strategies that young people can use, that their parents could even use, or even teachers, to improve the quality of their life. And whether that's through fashion and beauty, whether it's through lifestyle, whether it's through travel, I'm kind of curious to see what suggestions you give us. But before we get into that, I wonder if we could sort of wind back in time, because I sometimes think, when young people see successful people, irrespective of the industry, they get caught up in assuming sometimes that it was easy. And so I'd love to go back to your own youth and what you were like in your own teenage years, and maybe reveal some of the challenges you had to overcome. So where were you living when you were a teenager, and what were you like back then?
I kind of had a really non-traditional childhood. So my dad was in the army, and I was actually born in Germany because he was based over there. And we kind of moved back and forth between England and Germany. And then we settled in High Wycombe when I was about 8, which is just outside London. So for me, I was kind of like one of those kids who had to be the new kid all the time. And that was a bit awkward, because I wasn't the kind of loudest of teenagers. I was quite quiet, quite shy. And having to do that all the time was a bit intimidating, to be honest. So when I kind of became a teenager, I found it a bit hard, because my dad's from Jamaica, my mum's from England, so I'm mixed race. And at the time when I was growing up in High Wycombe, and the school that I went to, it was predominantly white kids, all girls school, and I just couldn't really find my place. I felt like I came from kind of a normal family, and the school that I went to was a grammar school. And it was really difficult for me, because it was really affluent kids with parents they would buy them their first car and it would be a brand new car, whereas I had to buy my auntie's Nova at the time, which cost £350 and was a rickety thing that kept breaking down. So it was difficult for me to find a place to fit in at school. And what I found that I did is I was kind of the naughty kid, because I felt like I didn't fit in. The only way that I could kind of show off, I guess, was to be disruptive in class and to get into trouble and not take flack from anyone. So I would always fight back at everything. And then I completely went off the rails, and I got pregnant at 17 and had a child. It's all fine now. He's 14 and everything is great. And we've got 2 other kids as well. So it's completely different life that I lead now to what I kind of went through as a teenager. And I think that is something that should be looked at and kind of celebrated in a way, because just because you do get yourself into problems as a teenager, and if you go completely off of the rails, you can always come back from it. And, being a teenager is difficult in itself, because there's so many hormones, there's friends kind of attacking each other and being horrible behind each other's backs. It's just like a minefield, and trying to get through that and come out unscathed is pretty near impossible. So I think that don't let that get you down. You might have a rough time as a teenager, but just kind of see the light at the end of the tunnel and think that this doesn't have to dictate my whole life, because it can change.
What a great message. I was saying to a teacher just last week, I said, it's not our job to judge young people. It's our job to empower them.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
All too often we see a young person in front of us and we judge them for their behaviours without for 1 second trying to consider what's going on in their personal life that might be causing and triggering some of the things that are going on right now.
Yeah.
And you described how you've moved backwards and forwards between countries, never really feeling settled, always being the new girl, not fitting in, and inevitably young people want to find a way to stake their claim and be known and be significant for something. And if I can't do that through my academics and I can't do that through sport, I'm going to find another way. And at an unconscious level, I'll be driven to do that. And sometimes it's the adults in the world that then judge kids for doing it. Yeah. And then if the young person's not careful, they accept those negative labels and start to look at themselves negatively, which can cause all kinds of problems over the longer term. What I'm curious about for you was you described how you were the naughty kid and you went off the rails a little bit. How did you turn things around?
I think it took me a long time. I mean, I've got really good parents and I haven't had like a crappy childhood or a disturbing childhood or anything. They have always been there for me. They've always been together. They've always been settled. I've got a brother as well, and we've always been with each other. But me going through that on my own, I kind of did segregate myself from them a little bit because I moved out when I was 17 and just went off and did my own thing and I wouldn't listen to them.
Yeah.
And then I had to kind of be that person and go through experiences for myself, see how it was to kind of live on my own and have to cope with everything. And then I just became kind of one of those people that just doesn't care anymore. I don't care what you think of me. I don't need to be friends with you. If you do something to betray me, just don't ever speak to me again. I was so kind of hardened to everything. And I've never been one that can kind of just sit and not do anything. Yeah. I don't want to kind of be just sat at home on benefits. I'm not that type of person, and it would just drive me insane mentally. So I think that I have that already ingrained in me that I have to be achieving something. And so I kind of put myself through uni. I was working. I had my own kind of child's entertainment business, and I became self-confident in myself and happy with myself personally. And then I met my husband when I was 23. Yeah. And from then it's just been amazing. My life's been great since then. But I just had to be happy with myself first to be able to move forward and then feel like, I'm in control of my life and my situation doesn't have to dictate what it's going to be. It can change. I can make things happen. I just have to go out and do it and make it happen.
I like that. It doesn't happen to us. We make it, we create it, we shape it.
Yeah.
And I think there was a key message that you said right at the beginning of all of that, where you said it took time. And I sometimes think, particularly in the modern world, we want this instant gratification, this quick fix. I've got these problems in my life right now. I want them fixed by tomorrow morning. Mm. And we're impatient with ourselves and with each other. And what you're saying is that it took time, but you got yourself on that journey. And what did you study when you went off to university?
I did video production and media studies, and it was a bit strange because even though I think I was 21 when I started the course, I was classed as a mature student, and it was a bit weird because I didn't feel like a mature student, yeah. But obviously everyone else was like 18.
Yeah.
So that was a bit strange. Like they were all kind of partying and doing all that kind of thing, but I obviously had a child at home, and I remember one time school was closed and I had to actually bring him into one of the lessons. And I was like, do you mind if I just bring him in? I've got no childcare. But I was so determined. I didn't want to miss the lesson. And my lecturer was like, yeah, that's fine. He can just sit there. And if there's anything inappropriate, because you know what students are like,
yeah.
If there's anything inappropriate, he can just go out for a bit. So that was really good. And I was kind of determined enough to just say, like, this is my situation. Is it okay? And everyone kind of just helped me along, and it was great. I think finding people that accept you for how you are and not being scared to just be how you are was really important in that situation as well.
Great stuff. Now, for young people who are struggling to find their career, you talked about how you studied video production and media, and yet you're a writer of a blog. So sure, there were some transferable skills you got from your time at university. But how did you eventually find your route and find your passion? You said it was 27, around about that age, when you started blogging and becoming the activist that you are today. How did you find your way through all of that?
I think uni is a bit of a funny thing now because everybody does it. And a lot of people don't actually end up doing what they studied. Yeah. So it's kind of just one of those things like doing A-levels. You kind of just do it because you have to. It's like the basic minimum now. And I think that, we don't know what we want to do at 18. So choosing a course is really difficult. So I think the best thing you can do is literally just choose something that you really want to do or that you think you want to do, even if it changes, even if you finish your course and you get a job doing something completely different, it really doesn't matter. And there's a lot of pressure to go into that field and have a career in that field, but it doesn't matter. As long as you're successful in what you've chosen to do or what you've ended up doing, then it's fine. We don't think, like 20 years later, oh, I didn't do what I studied for. And, if your life's successful, it's successful. And I think that for me personally, choosing the course that I did, video production and media studies, was because I kind of wanted to go into films and things. And although I'm not into that now, it still kind of relates to the work I do now, because it's all kind of the same industry, and I'm still seeing and working with the same kind of people, and it all interlinks. So for me, it kind of has gone a bit of a roundabout path, but it's still similar to that kind of world.
It sounds like you, please correct me if I'm wrong here, but the only way you can get somewhere is through experience. You can't prejudice it. You can't, you have to immerse yourself in something to figure out whether you like it or not. You can't judge food and whether you like the taste of it without actually putting it in your mouth, and it's through the experience that you figure out what you like and what you don't like. And it's through experiences that you build relationships, you develop contacts, and life presents itself to you. But if you only sit on your backside at home and never do anything, or only ever hang out in the same places with the same people, then inevitably new opportunities can't present themselves to you.
Yeah, exactly. And you can't kind of group yourself with the people that you hang around with, because it will turn out completely differently. Like, for example, now, if I look back at what everyone's doing that I used to hang around with, it's just insane. I wouldn't want to be doing anything that anyone is doing that I used to hang around with as a teenager. You've got to be your own person, and you can have friends, but you don't have to be the same as your friends. You can do what you want to do and still be friends with that person. It's just about kind of finding yourself, and it does take a lot of time, longer than you would expect. But if you're lucky, obviously it's not that long. But just understand, I guess, that it's not going to be immediate. It will take you time, but it doesn't mean that you're going to fail just because it's taking you a bit longer.
You now are a strong voice in the fashion industry. And one of the reasons I wanted to get you onto the show was because of fashion, and young people love fashion. Why did you get involved in fashion? It's not just difficult, some would say brutal industry. And it's so glamorous on one level, but so hard on another, particularly behind the scenes. And so what attracted you into that, and how did you get started?
I've always loved fashion. So when I was younger and I used to dress up and go out, I would always kind of go the extra mile and try and find something that I know no one else is going to wear, something that looks a bit trendy. I've always kind of been that person. And I think I never, even in my wildest dreams, thought that I would be, going to London Fashion Week. It just came about because I started the blog, and I've developed such a thick skin now that I really do not care what people say about me. And I am not going to be judged by, the stereotypical idea of beauty. I can still be fashionable just because I'm, a bigger size or have a different colour skin or where I come from. That doesn't dictate my fashion sense or if I'm fashionable or not. And I think being confident has a lot to do with whether a style can be pulled off or not. I kind of put myself in front of people and just contacted people and kind of got myself to where I am by asking for things, asking for partnerships and collaborations, asking to come to an event, asking to work with a magazine. And I think that's what you have to do, because you may think that it only comes to kind of the skinny models, but you have to actually go out and find it. And once you're already there, it's very difficult for people to kind of judge you and turn you away and say, oh, she's not good enough to be at our fashion show or something like that. If you're you've made yourself into something, it's very difficult for them to kind of turn you away like that.
I think there's a great piece of advice there, and I want to really emphasize it, because it doesn't just apply to fashion. I think it applies to school and every single industry. You said ask for things. You can be the most talented or most naturally gifted person in the world and not make any progress. Equally, you can think that you have no skill or no talent, but if you never ask for the help, if you never ask for the invitation, if you never ask for the favor or whatever it may be, you don't make progress. And you were clearly bold enough to go out there and ask for things, and it opened up doors and led you to where you are now. I wonder if you'd be willing to give our listeners some fashion tips, whether they are boys that are listening, whether they're girls that are listening, whether they're younger, whether they're older. What would some advice be? Is it that, get whatever's in season, or is it something different to that? If you were going to give some fashion advice, what would it be?
I think it is to do with seasonal. So, I mean, I feel personally, you've got to feel good in what you're wearing. So just because, for example, this is really old fashioned, like a belly kind of top where you've got your whole belly hanging out. Just because that's in fashion does not mean that it's going to look good on you.
Great point.
You have to find something that suits you.
Yes.
And it doesn't have to be, your whole outfit doesn't have to be, bang on trend, what's coming down the catwalk that season. You can mix it up. You can, have a bag that's really big right now, but have something really casual and plain on, and that's like a statement. Or you can go kind of all out and have a bit of everything in, and as long as you're confident enough to pull it off and it does look good on you and you feel good in it, it will work. I think it's just about research as well. So if you look kind of what's around at the moment, try a few things on. You might order something and try it on and it looks terrible. It's just trial and error, really. Even I order things and put it on and think, oh no, what have I ordered that for? You have to just try things on, feel comfortable in it, and it will work for you.
I like that. Now, one of the other reasons why I wanted to get you on was that you weren't just about the fashion. The emotion's important to you, isn't it? And you're doing some fantastic work through Girls Out Loud. And I wonder if you could tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, so I'm an ambassador for a charity called Girls Out Loud. They're a UK-based charity. And what they do basically is they fill a huge gap that has been missing for so long. And they go into schools and they work with teenage girls by running programs about confidence. They help girls with relationships. And it's not just kind of sexual relationships, it's relationships with their peers as well. So friendship groups. There's a lot of kind of bitchiness going on between girls at school. And they tackle that and they give you the tools to know how to deal with those situations. And that is so important because that affects your whole teenage school life. Friendship groups are a huge part of that and how you feel. And if you're happy, you'll get on well with school. If you're not, it's just going to be problematic the whole time and you'll hate it. They also do things like a Big Sister program, which is just amazing. They get women in who are, I think it's over 23 years old and have kind of got a bit of life experience. They match them up with a girl that they think will kind of gel well together. They suit each other. And that woman is there for that girl. And it means she can go to her and ask for advice on anything. If she just wants to talk and she needs someone to listen and she feels like she kind of can't talk to her parents or can't talk to her friends about something, or she just wants to ask something, that woman is there for them for a whole year. And that kind of thing has been missing in schools in the UK just for so long. And at the moment, Girls Out Loud are only working in a certain area. And if they can just expand to the whole of the UK, that would just be amazing because it's something that every girl needs as a teenager. And although they only work with girls, obviously, I don't know if there's programs for boys, but if that kind of thing works for boys as well, then I'm kind of all for that because teenagers just need so much support and they just don't get it through the normal schooling system.
Well, I'm delighted that you've gotten involved with Girls Out Loud. I'm going to definitely put links in the show notes to Girls Out Loud.
Oh, amazing.
And I want to encourage as many people as they possibly can to get involved in whatever they can. And maybe you're a young person listening right now and you want to get the help, or you're a teacher and you want to get the program into your school, or you're a parent and you want to see if you can find some information to get your own child involved. Maybe you have a little bit of spare cash lying around at the moment and you want to make a donation so that this program can go bigger, further, wider and make a bigger difference. I know that there will be people listening in other parts of the world, not just the UK. And I want you to know that even if Girls Out Loud isn't operating in your country, there are all kinds of programs in the US, in Australia, and time again, irrespective of who comes on the show, Natascha, people keep saying to me the importance of having a mentor, the importance of having quality relationships around you, people of the same age, people that are older than you that can guide you. And essentially, I guess, they're saying that the quality of your life really is directly related to the quality of your relationships. And Girls Out Loud helps people, particularly girls, develop the right relationship skills, but also make some of those connections to the right relationships so that you can overcome some of those common problems and obviously have a better future. What are some of the common problems that you see that young people need to deal with these days?
I think body image is a big thing, and having confidence in your outer body is huge for teenagers because it kind of dictates, their relationships with friends, the relationships with the other sex or the same sex. You just need to feel confident in your body to be confident in yourself. And finding that as a teenager is really, really difficult because you are changing so much and you are going through so much.
Yeah.
And one of the important things to remember is that with like Girls Out Loud, the programs that they run, not everyone has, hugely supportive parents at home. And even if you do, there are times that you do feel that you can't talk to them. So you do need to be able to have somebody that's there for you, that you can ask the awkward questions to without feeling like you can't ask somebody, or that you can't get help when you need help.
Yeah.
And that is a really big issue, is that asking for help and not feeling like, I can't say that I'm going to get into too much trouble, or feeling like you've got yourself into a situation that you just can't get out of. That is, a big, big issue for teenagers, I think.
Now, with that body image issues, the body dysmorphia, the body confidence, what are some errors that we make in our own thinking that create those problems? What are some of the things that you might say to the teenagers listening right now? This is a mistake. Stop doing it because it actually is taking your confidence away.
I think it's difficult to know kind of if they can just change it as simply as that. I think it's got a lot to do with society and that whole thing of, the stereotypical beautiful person, the idealistic. It's knowing or teaching teenagers that that's not real.
Yeah.
And, those girls that are stick thing supermodels, it's only because they're naturally like that. It's not because they're training hard to get like that. And I think that teenagers need to realise that that's not attainable. I could train every single day. I'm never going to be that skinny because my body's not built like that.
Yeah.
If you've got short hair and your hair just doesn't grow, you're not going to have the really long hair, and you shouldn't have to go and get, pay out tons of money to get extensions done just so you feel like you fit in.
Yeah.
You should the best thing that I can say to teenagers is just try to accept who you are and be happy with your heart, with who you are. If you want to change things as you get older, or you want to try out new looks or try something, then do it because you just want to try things out, not because you feel like you don't fit in or you're not good enough, because you are good enough.
Absolutely. I think if we were all supposed to be the same, we would have been made the same, whether that's the universe, God, whatever you believe in. If we were all supposed to be the same clone of the same thing, we all would be.
Exactly.
But we've been made uniquely different because there's somebody out there, if it's relationship based, that is very much attracted to you, your body type, your eye colour, your skin colour, your shape, your size.
Yeah.
You are exactly the way you're supposed to be. And learning to love that is so important when it comes to teenage confidence. I want to get some tips and advice from you in a moment about what people could do if they wanted to get involved in the fashion or beauty industries. But before we go there, you talk in your blog about travel, and you've got all kinds of travel tips. And I was kind of curious about what it is you love about travel and why you think travel is important.
I love, I guess, the newness of it. I love exploring. I love even not just traveling, moving around as well. So as an adult, I've actually lived in Sweden for 4 years as well. Oh. And I just love that, the feeling of new cultures, exploring new places, and obviously going on holiday is a way to do that quite quickly and in a short space of time. I just think it's such a big world. And I know actually a couple of people that have literally lived in the same village their whole life, have been on holiday kind of one time. And I just think that is so bizarre. I mean, back in, I guess, the Victorian ages or something, when we couldn't get on a plane, I understand that. Yeah. But now we have the tools to go anywhere in this world that we want to go. And to not do it would just be insane to me. It wouldn't have been invented if we weren't supposed to. It's such a big world and there's so many different places. And for example, I went to the Maldives last year.
Wow.
And it's not somewhere that I've actually wanted to go before. But when I got the offer, I thought, okay, I'm going to go.
Yeah.
It was out of this world and I can't even describe it. You have never imagined such a beautiful place and such a different place. Obviously, we live in England and it is completely different to being on a small island in the middle of the Indian Ocean. It's just surreal, and I can't describe how beautiful it actually is. And if you're lucky enough to ever get the chance to go there, because it obviously is ridiculously expensive, then go. And there's got to be so many other places in this world that I haven't seen and that are just as beautiful in their own different ways. And I would love to be able to, tick them off my list as the years go on. and being able to share it with everyone through my blog is just like, it's great. And getting everyone's opinions on it and tips on different places to go it's amazing.
I love your passion for it. It's one of mine as well. I have this little mini challenge for myself to go to at least one new country every year. and I've never been to Sweden. It's funny. I was down in London this weekend. The thing I love about travel is it challenges your opinion of life and the way you should live it in the world. Because invariably when we're young, we're surrounded by our immediate environment helps to create our habits, doesn't it? Because everybody else hangs out in this place, wears those clothes, listens to that music.
We're also taught that the way we live is the right way to live.
Yeah.
And when you go and live somewhere else, you realise that actually, you know what, it's not actually the best way to live.
No, correct.
It's so strange to do that as an adult. And then if you come back, you're kind of like, yeah, but they do it differently, you know, over there. And it doesn't mean it's the best way. It's like a different kind of outlook on life, I guess.
That's what it does for me. Totally challenged my lifestyle, my routines. Actually, there are other things you could do that will bring you more happiness. But if you don't go and travel and you don't see them, then you don't know they exist and you're never going to adopt them as your own little lifestyle routines.
Yeah.
And the thing that I love now, and you mentioned it earlier on, is about the ease of travel. You know, it cost me more to catch a train to London this weekend than if you're organised to go and get on a cheap flight to over to Europe. I could have gone to Europe for less than our own capital city.
I know. It's insane. It's completely nuts. I mean, there's places in England that I still haven't been, in the UK, I should say. I want to go to Scotland and a couple of other places, but to go there on the train is about £300.
Crazy.
It's ridiculous.
No wonder you get yourself off to Ibiza and places like that instead.
Yeah.
Give us your top 3 or 5 destinations where you would recommend young people should put on their bucket list at some point in their life.
Oh, gosh. I think Stockholm in Sweden, for one, I have to say that. It is amazing and you should go and just explore. Go to the old town. It's great there. The Caribbean, I think it's a great place. It's obviously quite tropical there and the food is amazing.
Yes.
Again, like the Indian Ocean. So, for example, Sri Lanka, the Maldives, Seychelles, those type of places are out of this world. And the food, one of the things I didn't expect when I went there is that the food was amazing.
Yes.
New York. I went to New York for the first time a couple of years ago and it was great. I keep trying to get back every year, but something's just standing in my way. I would move there, I think, if I didn't have any kids.
The city that never sleeps.
Yeah, it's great there.
Where's next for you? Where do you really want to go that you haven't been yet?
I really want to go to LA just because I just feel like I have to.
Mm-hmm.
I just want to see what it's like. I want to go to Iceland and do the whole volcano swimming routine thing.
Yes.
I think that's it immediately within the next year or so. I think those are the 2 that I really want to do.
I think it's important to always have something to look forward to.
Yeah.
You know, whether it's a big trip like Los Angeles or Iceland or something smaller close to home that you can do for no cost. Always have something to look forward to that inspires you, that motivates you, that wakes you up in the morning, puts a smile on your face. So, Natascha, as we're sort of heading towards the end here, I know that there'll be lots of young people that are listening that want to or aspire to at some point in time get into the fashion or the beauty industry. And that's something that you've done and you've done well. You're succeeding at it right now. So could you give us some tips about what young people could do if they ever wanted to follow in your footsteps?
Yeah, I think a good way to get in, it takes a lot of hard work and finding that opportunity is not going to come for everyone. And I think that's where a lot of people fail, is that they just give up when they find that they can't kind of get an in. So make one for yourself. That is the biggest piece of advice that I can give anyone. If you want to do something, not just fashion and beauty related, anything, you need to make an in for yourself. And in the fashion and beauty world, I think starting by having a blog, or now we've got social media, which is amazing, an amazing kind of self-promotion tool, you can use that to your advantage and it's for free. So just create whatever you want to create the image that you want to create for the industry that you want to get into. And then, you know, all you've got to do is send a few emails and say, this is what I've already done. And once people have seen that you're already doing something, that makes it so much easier to kind of get the opportunities to progress. If you go to someone and you say, oh, I want to do this, they're like, well, what are you doing now?
Yeah.
And that is the biggest thing. The biggest obstacle is just do it yourself first and the rest will come.
Fantastic. If there was something you could change about the fashion industry that would make it better, what would that be?
I think inclusion, and I'm talking about body images, ethnicity, age. Don't just assume that because you're not skinny and under 20 that you're not kind of into fashion or that you're not valuable. We still have ideas, and we're as you get older, your experience and your ideas are actually more valuable because you've been through so much and you kind of know already what works and what's a good idea and what can be applied well. So don't just write us off. Don't just assume that, everyone, if they're not kind of falling into that bracket, that they're not valuable.
So diversity.
Yeah, 100%.
Is the key thing. Fantastic.
Yeah.
Natascha, if people have been enjoying what they've been listening to here, and I think they will have done, and they wanted to stay in touch with you, what would be the best ways for them to carry on communicating and learning from you?
I mean, you can read all the things that I am up to and writing about, new products and things that I've discovered on nataschacox.com. Or if you kind of want a daily kind of thing of what I'm up to, you can follow me on Instagram. It's natascha.cox, or Twitter is Natascha Cox NC. And then you kind of can go along with me every day if you want to, if I don't bore you.
Fantastic. Well, we'll make sure we put links in the show notes. This is episode 34 of the Unstoppable Teen podcast. So people can go to unstoppableteen.com/34, and we'll make sure we've got the links to your blog there. We'll make sure that we put links through to your social media channels. People can follow and they can keep in touch with all that stuff to do with Girls Out Loud and everything else that you're doing. Natascha, as you know, this is the Unstoppable Teen podcast. So my final question today is, what do you, in this modern, fast-paced world, what do you believe it takes to be unstoppable?
I think, in a few words, determination, initiative, and hard work.
Fantastic. I have been personally inspired by your own lifestyle, the choices that you made to come through those difficult early years and make it to where you are right now. I'm really looking forward to seeing how things progress in the future. On behalf of myself, my team, and everybody that's listening, please can I say a big thank you for being so generous and so open with us today.
Oh, thank you so much for having me on. It was really great to kind of talk to you, and I hope that at least somebody can be helped from the conversation. So fingers crossed. I'm sure that will be the case. Thanks very much and all the best. Thank you. So there you go, folks. That was the wonderful Natascha Cox. I hope that you gained as much out of that interview as I did. There were some wonderful words of wisdom that Natascha was able to share when I think about those challenges she overcame in her own youth, about her family, moving around and never really feeling like you fit in, always trying to make friends. Has that ever happened to you before? Or you've had other experiences where it's been difficult for you to, find your personal significance. And maybe you made some bad choices. Maybe you've experienced some challenging times where you behave badly, whether that's at home or indeed in school. We all make mistakes. And Natascha, as she said, it all worked out right in the end. But I'm sure it wasn't in her life plan to get pregnant and have a family when she was just 17 years of age. I hope that she's an ambassador for showing the way that no matter what mistakes you may make in the moment, you can always turn your lemons into lemonade. There's always a way, no matter what problem you're experiencing, where you can turn it all around and make life good again. Heck, you can make it great. So please, if you want to find the links to the things that Natascha talked about, whether that's Girls Out Loud or indeed her own blog, then please do go and visit the show notes for today's episode. You can find them at unstoppableteen.com/34. This is episode 34, so you can go to unstoppableteen.com/34 and you'll find the links to everything that was talked about in the show notes in today's episode. If you found this useful and you know that there might be somebody else out there that's struggling and experiencing challenges, maybe there's a parent, a teenager, or even a teacher, please share this with your friends, with your family, and with your community. By spreading the word, together we can make a difference. Maybe listening to Natascha and her story might just be the thing that somebody needs to hear to give them hope, to make them realise
that nothing in this life is permanent and every problem can be overcome. On the other hand, maybe you know somebody that aspires to achieve similar things to Natascha, having a successful presence online, having their own column, having their own blog, having their own social media following and becoming an influencer. And therefore, if you know somebody like that, whether they want to do that in fashion or in any other industry, share this with them. And together we can help make a difference. Of course, you can subscribe to the show at unstoppableteen.com/subscribe. You can also subscribe via iTunes, SoundCloud and Stitcher. I'm looking forward to returning again next week, where we'll be sharing more hints, more tips, more strategies that young people can use to become truly unstoppable. Until then, have fun. I'll see you soon. Thanks for listening. Bye for now.